Released in the middle of nowhere after a tumultuous night, only to unfortunately meet a tragic end. What really happened to Mitrice Richardson?
She vanished just blocks from her dorm room.
And is she a white, black, Asian, Hispanic?
She's young black girl. She's probably in her 20s.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Let Us Babe channel. My name is Notori. If it's your first time here, this is where I talk all things brown living, and then specifically on Mondays, missing people of color. If you missed last week's episode, I'll have it linked up in the cards up there so you can kind of check it out and let me know your thoughts. As for today, we're talking about Mitrice Richardson. So when I first read into this story, what stuck out to me the most is how mishandled the night of her disappearance seemed to go via law enforcement, and then also how there was some protocol that was not followed. And I feel as though if it was, this would have made for a totally different scenario potentially, and might have made the difference in Mitrice still being alive, honestly. So let's just get into the details. So what stuck out to me about Mitrice is that not only is she absolutely beautiful, but she is extremely expressive and explorative when it comes to her own self-identity. Leading up to her disappearance, she was working as a dancer at an LGBT club, and she was also openly in a relationship with a woman, which I feel like if you are fearless enough to live your truth, that says a lot about you. That to me describes you as a very cool person. She was also reported to have said that Pepperdine was the campus that God would have made if he had the money. No one can really say if that's specifically why she drove to Malibu that day, but it's kind of a safe guess considering how much she wanted to see the school and attend. Now, I haven't read too many writings on Mitrice's mental health, but it seems as though she might have been in some sort of manic episode leading up to her disappearance, just because she posted some Facebook statuses on her Facebook a few days before her disappearance, and this is what they said. "There's signs everywhere. Smiley face. I just want to sleep, LOL, but you know me and my crazy ideas. Let's see where they take me." And then she put another smiley face. So for honestly anyone, that's not too ominous of a post. I mean, that could be anything from something that you are doing that's great and excellent that you're just not ready to share, versus something that could potentially be a little bit more wild. No one could really say what she was meaning by that, but her behavior following those Facebook posts kind of puts two and two together that maybe it was a mental health related issue. Around 7 p.m. on the night of her disappearance, she drove her Honda Civic up to a restaurant called Jeffrey's off of the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu. What's really strange is that once she got to the front of the restaurant, there was a valet service. The valet got out of his car to park her car, and in the meantime, she went into his and she started rummaging through his things. When he asked her what was she doing, she said, "I've come to avenge the death of Michael Jackson." And then she proceeded to get out of the car and walk into the restaurant. There was no other mention about why she would have said that or any type of explanation, but like I said before, her mood and kind of her behavior was a little bit strange, so that was probably just another example of that. When she got into the restaurant, she ordered a steak and a cocktail, which came out to $89.51. I believe she spotted a group of diners that also came together, so she went over to them and she was mingling and kind of talking. But once they got up to leave, I think from reports that I've read, maybe she thought they would have covered her tab as well, but they did not because they didn't really know each other. So whenever management asked her to cover her bill, she replied with, "I can't pay it," or like, "I'm not able to," or something like that. And after which they decided to call the police because she was kind of acting a little bit strange, like I said before. The police showed up and they said, you know, "If you have someone that could pay your bill, who would you call?" basically. And she said her great-grandmother, who she lives with. Unfortunately, her great-grandmother lives about 40 miles away from that restaurant, and she doesn't know anyone else in the area. They asked the grandmother to fax her credit card information over, but I'm not sure if she's just a grandmother and just doesn't know how to do that, or doesn't have a fax machine. Whatever the case, the grandmother was unable to. After that correspondence, they decided to go out to Richardson's car and do a search. They found a small amount of marijuana, some tequila, vodka, and half a case of beer, but when they did a field sobriety test on her, she passed. So, given Mitrice's behavior, you would have thought that the police would have taken her to a hospital and maybe put her in an involuntary psychiatric hold, but instead of doing that, they took her to Lost Hills, which is a police department, and they allowed her to stay there for a few hours that night. This is what her mom said whenever she called in to check on Mitrice.
I am calling. I'm a little frazzled right now. I understand my daughter is being brought into the station. Mitrice Richardson. Have they made it to the station yet? And she's been booked.
Okay, do you know where she's coming from?
It's some restaurant out in Malibu, and I didn't even think to get the name. The manager's name is...
The only place we have somebody that's in custody that they just announced on the radio that they're coming up is from Joffrey's in Pacific Coast Highway. It's the only female that's being brought up to the station as we speak. They actually just put it on the radio right before you called.
Okay. I'm her mother, and are you guys going to book her and then release her on her own recognizance tonight, because it's dark, she doesn't have a car, and I don't want her wandering out. I'm totally just taken aback because this is so out of character for her, and you'll see when she comes in, she's well spoken. I think the only way I will come and get her tonight is if you guys are going to release her tonight. If going to be held in custody for some type of arraignment tomorrow, then I will wait until tomorrow. She definitely has no place, I mean, she's not from that area, and I would hate to wake up to a morning report, girl lost somewhere with her head chopped off, so I guess I would have to come and get her. Oh, my God.
Yeah, we're in Agoura Hills. The only thing is, at least in the station here, she will be separated, so nobody's going to be with her. So at least that's, the plus thing, so you don't have to worry about her safety.
No, I feel safe with her being in custody. It's being released, but I'm worried about it. It's crazy out here. All right, well, then I will more than likely call and touch bases with you guys a little bit later.
And she'll call you as soon as she comes in, too.
Around 12 o'clock at night, Mitrice was released into the Santa Monica Mountain area, but she was not dressed to be walking that type of terrain. She was wearing a Bob Marley t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. And as far as the area goes, it's 12 o'clock at night. Every business is closed. The bus route, which she was not keen to taking anyway, had long closed. And her car was 11 miles away in the tow pound. So she would have had to walk through a crazy amount of terrain, a tunnel, the side of the road, just to make it back to that location. At 6:30 a.m., a local resident by the name of Bill Smith called into the police department to report someone who was potentially prowling in his backyard. This is what he said.
Okay. Well, Sheriff Station Office, can I help you?
Yeah, hi. Hey, this is Smith at Cold Canyon. We had a prowler walking around through the backyard here, but we don't know what the situation was. I don't know if you have a unit in the area. It might do a little drive-by or something.
Okay, where is this at?
This is Cold Canyon, like hot and cold in Montecito. But it's in the back of the house, which is right where Wood Bluff hits Cold Canyon. And we just had a strange woman walking through the backyard here. It's a fairly large property, and she was sitting on the steps right on the back of the house here. This is kind of a circular driveway, and the gates were closed, so we don't know where this woman came from.
You said the cross was Wood Bluff?
Yeah, that's right. There's a horse trail, hiking trail access through here, but we've never had this kind of thing happen before.
What'd she look like? White, black, Hispanic?
A tall, slim black woman with afro hair.
How tall?
Well, she was sitting down, stretched out on the wooden steps in the back of the house. Hard to tell, but she looked like she might have been medium to slightly tall, with a big afro hair, very skinny. And I think she was wearing maybe jeans or tight pants with a T-shirt.
You've never seen her there before?
No, never. Nobody ever does that. I mean, the people hike on the trail all the time. The trail goes through our property, but we leave it open on purpose because it's kind of a nice thing for horses and people.
And you said she's laying across she was laying across the steps, or?
She was sitting kind of sprawled out on these wooden steps in the back of the house, right against the back of the house.
She's since got up and left?
She's since gone, yeah. She's been gone about 5 minutes now, but as we followed her over, we thought maybe a little drive-by wouldn't be a bad idea.
And what direction was she last seen headed?
Never saw her. Once she left, she just disappeared. I moved from one window to another. I said to her, I hollered down, "Are you all right?" And she said, "I'm just resting," or something like that. But she's certainly gone out of her way to get to that close to the house because the hiking trail is not that close. It's on the ridge.
All right, well, since we haven't checked the area for her.
Appreciate that very much.
Not a problem, sir.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
It is now August 9th, 2010, and Mitrice Richardson's remains have been found. Considering what she was wearing and the inhospitable terrain in the area, it would have been nearly impossible for her to be found where she was in the position and the condition her body was in. She was found off the side of a hill, partially mummified, and her clothes had been removed. Here's a quote by a local detective by the name of Kessler. So because of the condition that Mitrice's body was found in, it would have made for a potential homicide, which would have meant that the coroner is allowed to come out to the scene, photograph the body, take any kind of notes, and then handle the body himself. But they didn't follow that proper protocol, even though it was an explicit order from the coroner. They bagged Mitrice's remains and airlifted her by helicopter. The coroner found this situation completely inexplicable, and when he was asked about the scenario, he says, he was very clear with the sheriff's officials and could not think of another case in which a police agency had moved entire skeletal remains without coroner's approval. Apart from that, I did read some reports about Mitrice's body being exhumed, so I'll leave the update of that in the description bar below. But as for this case in details, that is all I have to really share with you guys. I believe that there was some foul play, honestly, within the police department potentially, or maybe a local person in the area saw her wandering around and took advantage of that, which just really goes to show what goes on in the dark, especially in America as it relates to missing people of color. Remember to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LetUsBabe, and comment down below if you have any questions or comments and want to talk about this case specifically. Remember that I post missing persons on Mondays, and if you want to maybe be on the channel and talk about something you're passionate about on Fridays, submissions open at 12 a.m. on Thursday night. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Peace.